And now on to the main topic, moving data from Airtable to Grist. We have a brand new feature to assist with it that I will show you. And we have a special guest who is very experienced with Grist and with Airtable, who will show you a real world example and share some advice. So both Grist and Airtable are spreadsheet database hybrids. So I have a little slide to show in which ways they're similar and different. They both are really a database at heart, but made with an interface that makes them feel like a spreadsheet. Or you can say they're both low-code platforms. For use cases when you need to maintain data, especially if you're keeping data long-term or if multiple people collaborate on it, the structure provides a much better solution than the traditional spreadsheet. The similarities make it easy for Airtable users to understand Grist and vice versa. But there are also a number of important differences. Both Airtable and Grist are great for relational data. Both have formulas. Grist formulas support full Python and include a library of Excel functions as well. Both have a very good REST API, fairly similar API, in fact. And both are supported by these integrator services like Zapier, Make, and N8N. So both connect well to the outside world. The last three rows show the key differences. Grist supports access rules that let you control access down to individual rows. So for example, you can create rules that restrict users to seeing only their own single record, or a sales team member could be restricted to only work with leads in their region and have no access to any other leads. Grist is available as a cloud service, just like Airtable, but you can also run it on your own infrastructure, self-hosted, on-premise or in a private cloud. That means you can be in control of your data 100%. And for some organizations, that's very important. And with Grist, you fully own your data. It's completely portable. And that means you can export your entire document, all tables, all relationships, as a single file that any database tool can open. The last point is directly relevant to what we're doing today. It's actually a common complaint about Airtable that it's quite hard to get your data out of it. You can export it as CSV, but it's hard to keep the structure and the relationships and the attachments. The new import tool we have lets you import data from Airtable with all of those things: the tables, the relationships between records, the formatting, and attachments as well. So let's do a quick example to see imports in action. For our first example, I'll import a base that's actually an unmodified Airtable template called Remote Asset Tracking. So I have it open right here. It's in the category IT and support, I believe. So let's take a look at what we have in this template. We have three tables: assets, items, and new purchase submissions. There are relationships between these tables. Let's take a closer look at assets. We have some kind of identifier, a serial number. This is a link to the table of items. An item might be a thing like a monitor. An asset is that this monitor was issued to this person on this date, and there is a particular purchase request that was associated with it and approved by someone. And so there is some relational data that's important here. So let's go ahead and try to import it. Here I have a workspace that I will use to import this data. You see there's already a document here called this because I tried this already, but I'm going to just do it from scratch. So I'll click Add New, and you'll see there is a new option here. In addition to importing like a CSV file or an Excel file or from Google Drive, you can import now from Airtable. And actually, so that you can see the full flow, I'm going to disconnect. So you see the first thing that will open for you, that you can connect your Airtable account to access your bases. And the dark green button is the more convenient way. There's also a way to do imports using personal access token. If you're self-hosting, this will be available, and this requires extra setup. But if you're using Grist on getgrist.com, then this button will be available. You can just click connect with Airtable. And you end up on airtable.com, where Airtable says that Grist is requesting access. And all that Grist needs is data in your records, the structure of your base, like table names and field types. And you can say what to give access to. You can select a particular base or just give access to all resources. I'll say all resources. And then Grist offers me to choose which base do I want to import. And I want to import this remote asset tracking. The next and last step shows me which tables I have. I can import the Airtable tables into new tables in Grist. I can skip them. And there's also an option to import into existing tables if I were in an existing document. You may see warnings here. For example, here, field serial number has an unsupported type barcode. Maybe it will be supported soon, but right now it's not supported. Auto number field behavior is not perfect, does not perfectly match Airtable. If you continue to use Grist documents to create new records, you might get different numbers than what Airtable assigns. But these are really not very important, so I can just be aware of what's happening and click import 3 tables. This is a small base, so it's going to import quickly. If you have a base with thousands of rows, it may take minutes to import. If you have thousands of attachments, then it may take tens of minutes to import, so don't be surprised and be patient. You do have to keep your browser window open during import in order for it to succeed. So let's take a look at what we got. Here we had 3 Airtable tables. In Grist, we have 3 pages. Each page has a copy of that Airtable table. So we have assets, items, and new purchase submissions, just like here. Here we had 16 records and assets, and 9 in items, and I can't see how many here, 7. So there should be the same numbers here, 16 assets, 9 items, and 7 purchase submissions. And you can see that attachments got imported. We have some date columns, some reference columns, choices, other choices. I think here we might have some markdown columns. Let me actually, if there's any interesting markdown to see here. So once you got data into Grist, you could polish it up and make it more convenient. So let me go over a few things that you will likely want to review and polish up to make more convenient. Firstly, you'll see here an Airtable ID. This is an internal identifier that every Airtable row has. This may come useful if you are still making changes in Airtable and need to sync things up later. But really, you don't need to see it, so you can hide a column like this. References get brought in correctly. So this is a reference to the same item that was referenced here. I should mention that the order of things that you see here may not be the same as what you see in the Airtable. So you might want to sort things instead. Maybe you'll sort by purchase date or something. And you can save the sort so it opens the same way every time. The difference in order makes it harder to compare, but if you sort both in the same way, then it'll be easier if you want to do some spot checks. One thing you'll see is that a reference does not show a useful identifier here. In Grist, you get to pick what identifier to show, and here you can pick any of the fields in the destination table, and name is a good field to pick. So if I choose this, then it will show me a more useful item. Similarly, for the purchase requests, I can pick here a more useful name, like request number. Nope, that one doesn't have anything useful. be the cluster's name. Item type, this is a choice column. If you see in here that item type had colors, Grist brought in all the choices, but it didn't bring in colors. So you can go in here and add some colors if you'd like. So I'll just add a few so it looks better. But perhaps this is something that the import tool will do more automatically for you as we polish it. The date got brought in with the same exact format that Airtable uses. And in Grist, you can always choose the format. If you want to see things differently, you can change it. And that covers the main things. Actually, one thing it doesn't cover that I do want to mention is another point of reference about references. Here, assets has a reference to an item. You can click to see that item's record card. You can customize this card. But in Airtable, every reference normally has two sides to it. So if you see a reference from asset to item, then in items, there's also a reference from item to asset. And here, this reference also doesn't have a useful name, so maybe we can include the name. Now, in Airtable, a reference is always kind of two-way. If I am to add something here, that will affect the reference that I see in the other table. In Grist, two-way references are an opt-in feature. It's supported, but it's not automatic. And the import tool, at least the way it is today, does not create that two-way connection for you. So instead, you can pick either side of these. For example, I can pick this column. If you choose a reference column, there is an option down here under column type section to add a two-way reference. And if I add this, it will create automatically a column like this, assets item. And here it also picks some field to show, but let me show the same one. And you'll see that this and this are really the same exact data. Make them the same widths, they're the same data. Maybe the order of things isn't the same, but the set of items is exactly the same. So actually, I can remove one of them and just keep the other. And you'll see that this is a two-way reference, just like this is a two-way reference. And so if you need both sides of a reference, that's a good way to do it. This means that, for example, if I were to add a new row and select an item, and give it some new asset name, then here it will show up as a new reference for the correct item as well, just like it does in Airtable. So this two-way reference is one point that you may be interested in if you need two-way references. Often in Grist, one direction is enough. So you could just delete the extra column if only one direction is what you need. There's more I can, one more thing I wanted to say is that this feature is brand new. It's basically being released this week. First appeared 2 days ago. So some issues like the ones I mentioned that you need to kind of handle manually, they may get improved. If you notice issues, please report them and they may get improved as well. One very important thing to say is that this is very, very different from trying to import data by exporting and importing a CSV file. Because the fact that references preserved, that attachments are preserved, formatting and so on, column types, column names and everything, this saves a lot of time if you're trying to migrate. So that's kind of covers the very basics of what I wanted to show on a very small document. For the next part, I am excited to introduce Amandine, who will show us a more real-world example. Amandine is a freelancer working for a public institution in France. She is very active in the French no-code community and organizes regular events for it. And she's an expert in Grist and an expert in Airtable, and in various other low-code tools. So please welcome Amandine.
Thank you for that introduction. And hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. So yeah, I started to work on Airtable, I think like 6 years ago, and I started on Grist, I think a year and a half. Now, like my everyday life is on Grist, and I still keep some projects on Airtable, but most of my no-code development is on Grist. And I'm gonna show you a use case about an event, something I can share because most of my work I cannot share. So here you go. I'm sharing my screen, so you should see it by now. Is it working? Like, yes. All right. So I'm gonna show you a use case about. Let me go on the right one about the No-Code Week. It's one of the multiple events I organize every year. This one is a nomadic event happening in Europe in a different country every year. And it's a camp, it's like 5 day longs. All the data I'm going to show you are available on the website. I already clean all my data and be sure that you will see like only public information, like all the attendees list is public, for instance. So I'm just going to show you that. We use Airtable to organize all the events. I did clean it up a bit to keep the main part, but we manage the people here, so the staff, the guests coming, so the attendees with regular ticket, but also the speaker and the partner as well. Like I think most of the events. We also have partner to finance and support the events. We also manage them here, and we have the schedule with all the sessions that will happen during the week. And we have a last element. It's something from my co-organizer who manages social media, and she keeps track of all the posts about the events, because when you organize events, keeping track of those is very important for the next edition. It's kind of your portfolio about your event and how great it was. So I kind of kept only this. Just for you to know, the current website is right now connected to an Airtable. That's like we really do everything there. And I try to migrate it on Grist with the new feature. So just to show you, the raw import is here. Like I do have, and I also saw something I didn't see before, but it also like keeps the even the logo and the color, for instance. So it really like just keep everything here, but it's very raw. So I did work a bit on it, just 2 hours, but to make it like look better and more useful for me. And so this is the result, but just be aware I work every day on Grist, so I might be a bit quick to also like set up new stuff. But here I still have my same. So this is the before, and this is the after. I've kind of fixed all the formula that needed to be fixed. Because here, for instance, if I go in the index, which was a formula on Airtable, but I do it recovers the exact Airtable formula, which is not working on Grist. So it's quite easy with an AI. You just give it and ask for the like Python version. So here you get the right one. So I had to fix all those few elements, but all the attachment came along, which is quite awesome because most of the time when I need to feed a document on Grist with data, it's through a CSV or an Excel file, and there is no attachment in there. So this one, like this is kind of great somehow. It also like keeps all the here the choice that came with Airtable. And I have also my personal tricks. So for instance, each database, if I go here in the data, I like to have a color per database. So when I do have relation, I know where it comes from. And I do really like that on Grist. I can choose the color of this first line. I don't know how to call it in English, but you can choose a color, while on Airtable, it's just white all the time. So I need to use emoji code all the time to make sure that this relation come from this other table and all of that. So that's something I do really like. And so here it's yellow, this one is blue, this other one is orange, and this one is pink. So that's what I keep. I also did create a few custom widgets. Maybe some might have used some, but here it's some interface elements from Airtable. Because on Airtable, you have the data, the automation, and the interface, but everything is like at a different place. And I do use a lot this one to know how many rows I have about something. So I did create one here that is on my GitHub, and I did share some on the forum as well. But here I can know how many tickets I have sold. I don't sell all my tickets. I have speaker that get a ticket for free. I have partners as well. So I can see how many people to expect, how many tickets were sold, how many speakers do I have. And this is easy to get. And what I do really like is on Grist, it's not data on one side and interface on the other one. It's kind of a mix of both of it. You have your data you can work on, but you can have your interface with more elements. For instance, here, I did hide some other data stuff, and you could have more if you wanted. Here, I can manage just my speakers. So I do have some filters here. I can show it here, so I can use it regularly and change it. Or like right now, it's just speaker, I won't change it, so I hide it. And then no one will kind of try to go there. But it's easy. I can also open a page with all the information. So here I have everything at like here as well, by the way. So I can see all the information. I also have in like, it's already integrated in Grist. I can have a map, and this event is European one. So there's people coming from a lot of different countries, and it's part of the experience, and it's part of why people are coming. So it's a map we do publish every year, and here on Grist, it's already here, while on Airtable, it's not a native feature. So most of the time we use an additional tool on top of it, like a software, or sometimes I even just download the data and put them on Mapbox, for instance. But here I can see it like with one look, and it's kind of very satisfying to look at. I can also manage my partners here, and I'm going to show you something that doesn't exist on Airtable, or at least I didn't found it. You need to do automation to get it. It's, I think, my first great discovery when I started to use Grist. So let's imagine in my team, there is someone selling to the partners and someone doing the administrative work with all the paper and the bank stuff. And it's not the same person. So the first one is kind of just talking to the partner, and then he just goes to a validation. Then when the validation is there, the contract, the invoice need to be created by someone else. So here, he just has access to those elements. That's the only choice he can pick. Like, okay, I'm talking with the base root team. Now they are good for it. So it's validated, and the next person can come along and do the rest of it. Here, if we go here in my choice, I have more. I have the waiting for signature. I have signed, paid as well, but they are not available here. I was able to here put some condition. So those options were not available here at this stage of the process. But here in the to-do part for more like the paperwork, I have here just the list of the people I should send the contract and invoice to. So here, for instance, there is nothing, but I could just pick something like a logo, a random one. Then I just add the logo, and here the color did change because the status did change. Actually, it's here now, and it's waiting for signature. because I just changed it, it didn't leave this one. But if I refresh my page, it's not here anymore. And if I go to the list with everyone, base row is not validated anymore. It's waiting for signature. But I just only added attachments to a column and not even this one. But I have something that is called a trigger formula. And when it's waiting for a signature, when it's validated, and I'm adding an invoice agreement in the column dedicated for it, then it switched to waiting for signature because the invoice has been created. And when I'm here, then I can change the status here. As soon as it's signed, I can say it's signed. So it switched here. And when it's paid, I can say it's paid. But I can like personalize every choice list of every view, but it's not changing the database. Like it's just a little step. So I can have actually a workflow with my views and my pages, which an Airtable you can make somehow. Like I can still modify that, but you need to use automation and editable fields and all of that. So this was easier to do, and it's like every day easier to like integrate in Grist than it was on Airtable. So it's a feature I do really like. Then you can see here the schedule. So I have all my sessions here. I did customize, and for instance, everything that is bold right now, it's kind of in the published status. And when it's not bold, it's still a work in progress. I can change that with only this, for instance. But I can see all my elements here. Here I do have a calendar view, and with all the color depending on the session and all of that, I can manage that here in the sidebar. So this is just basic calendar. It's related to the speaker. I can then recover the picture of the speaker, the emails. So all those are just fake emails for you to know. I saw some of the attendees in the chat, but I didn't create them really, so don't use them. I can have like the session that are related to my partners. So here, if I go to this one, for instance, I can see all the session, the team of the partner as well. Like I can have all the information in one look right here. And I can change how it looks and the position, what I want to like show or not. I can do all those elements. And here I have another type of view. It's a list of cards. And here I put a filter per day of the week. So here I'm on Tuesday, and I can make sure that there is no overlapping in between my sessions. So this one is in the morning, this one is starting later. So between this one and this one, like I can check one by one, and there's a sorting as well on it, so I can check that. And the last section I can show you is also a custom widget right here. But as I told you before, for event planners, it's quite important to follow and track social attention. So here we have all the list from before that was just here, was just a basic table. And here on Grist, I still have this table, but every time I change my selected row, on the right side, I have a view of the actual post. So I can like see it right now. I don't have to open the link every time. And so it works for LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, I even have just to put the link post. And then I have a formula here. Oh, I don't have it anymore. I used to have a formula that could recreate it right away, which is something that do not work on Twitter. So I have to copy paste it all the time. But at least the preview post is working, and it's easy. And this page, I could like publicly share it. So I can share it with my partner or the prospect for the new edition, and they can like easily see everything and read it. And the last thing that I was able to do quite easily with Grist, thanks to the access rules. It's true. So for instance, if I come here, do I have it here? I don't have it here. So let's go here. And this is something I discovered today. Until this afternoon, I had no idea that by clicking here, you could see everyone. But here I have all my users. And let's go for Marion, for instance, who is in the chat. So if I was Marion and I came here, I could only see my own line and none other line, like no one else. And I could change my information. So it's not .io, it's .co. But then I touch something tricky. So that was not a good idea, actually. Let's go with Elise. So Elise could change her name and be Elisette. And it works. So she could edit her own data herself and don't have to email me to ask me to correct the name she puts in the formula, in the form. So she could have access to all of that. But also Elise is a speaker. So she could go in the schedule part and see her session, and she could edit the information from her session herself without like emailing me and asking me to do that. She is also related to a partner, so she could do it as well. But if I go in the raw data, she can see only what's related to her. All the other partners, she don't have access to it. She cannot change it because she's not allowed to. And I was able to do that thanks to the access rules. So I did something just quite basic. But here in the people table, you can see a line only if your email match the email that is in the record. The same here. Only people who are listed in the speaker of the session can access to the session and edit it. Everyone else has no access. And here, you talked about that earlier, but I do have something that is just a column. So I do like in my data to have a column that is view as. So it's easier for me to find the people. I can just like have a sorting by name, and it's faster for me to find when I have a lot of users. But this column, for instance, view as, I can see it. But if I'm view as, if I'm Elise, Elise is not going to be able to see it, for instance. So those are like few elements, and you can have a lot of access rules to have something very specific to your use case and that match your exact need. And you can somehow be an app on Grist. So do your own data management, but to have your interface and portal for your users. And here it is. I think I'm good with my use case.
Well, thank you. This is amazing. I'm always amazed. I spend more time thinking about Grist than building things in Grist. So it always amazes me when people do things that look way better than anything I've ever done in Grist. So this is very cool. I wanted to share one more interesting, or I should say beautiful use case. That's just a little different. There is an architect and a town planner who has spent years documenting Scarborough. Scarborough happens to be possibly the world's first seaside resort since 1800s. And he's built a collection of thousands of postcards of this town. And it's not just postcards, there's also like stereographs there too, which actually came before postcards. And some of his earliest items are from the 1850s. So he has a website for this collection that I will share. This is the website. you can see there's a lot of postcards here, and like old ones. So he gets cards from various sources, right? And each card goes through some categorization, and you have to try to figure out the year, maybe from postmark or from some building that doesn't exist anymore. And so he has been doing all this in Airtable. And when he first got it working, it was a eureka moment, because the alternative was to manage thousands of cards in a box in a room. And it's kind of like the right tool for it, right? This kind of spreadsheet database, easy to use, a visual database that supports attachments is a great tool for this sort of use case, and for a collection of items. And over time, this started to feel clunky. Part of it is because the website that I'm sharing is built in Wix, which doesn't talk to Airtable, so he has to enter everything twice. But also Airtable itself has been changing. And as an architect, you mentioned the principle that form follows function. And in this analogy, Airtable originally was designed for a specific core function. It's a place to manage structured data, but it has been morphing into something else. There is now a much heavier focus on enterprise buyers, and there's like AI features that don't help in this case, but there are high prices because of them. So basically it's changed. Anyway, the point is, we tried to import this into Grist, and I wanted to share what it looks like in Grist. Am I sharing it? Yeah. So here's some of the data input in Grist. I actually only imported the first 50 lines of postcards, because otherwise it is quite a large collection with gigabytes of attachments. So here we have the main part of it, which is the items, but there's also vendors, there's publications, and other stuff. And in Grist, what I was able to do, kind of similar to Amandine, is to create some views to show data the way I like to see it. So here is the cards, just the ones that I have a picture for, but ordered by year. And in this widget on the right, I added, using the same vibe view widget that I showed before. I can actually show you the code for it, which also I didn't write it, Claude did. But it very quickly gives me like a visualization where I just want to see the front and the back of the card. And that makes it really, really nice. I can like click on whatever I want. These are called, I guess these are called the stereographs. And I think you probably had special glasses to look at them. And then, some postcards. These are actual postcards that people have sent to each other. There's like some stories there. There's one other widget page that I added here, which is by location on map. So this is the same also widget that Amandine showed earlier. And the reason I was able to put in a map is because I noticed that in Airtable, there was a column called geocache code. So I have no idea what goes into geocache code. It looks like this. But again, I asked Claude, and Claude knows how Airtable encodes geographical data. So it wrote for me a formula to extract the latitude and the longitude from that. And with that, I can show the cards I have that I have this code for on a map. And I can click on a card, and I can see, I put some details, put the same widget here to see a preview of this card. And it's just really cool. One reason I wanted to bring it up, besides the fact it's a beautiful use case, is that there are other collections out there I know about, and both in the hands of individual collectors and in museums. Collections that are not fully indexed or cataloged, and an easy-to-use database like Airtable or Grist is the right choice for such a collection. But Grist here has a particular advantage, and not just in the neat features that I just showed, but in that fact that it's suitable for a collection that's meant to last for a long time. Grist really is portable. You can start online, go to getgrist.com and start using it as software as a service. But you can download the full database. You can open it on your desktop using Grist's desktop version. You can run it on your own server for collaboration. It's open source, so that code will be available regardless kind of the fortunes of the company. And it stores data in a very well-established format, SQLite. And that's a format that's been around for a long time. It's supported by many tools, not just Grist. And it's actually one of the 4 data formats recommended by the Library of Congress for long-term storage of data sets. So it's intended to outlast any particular tool. So in other words, it's not only a good choice for your day-to-day tasks or event planning, but even for long-lived museum collections. So I just wanted to bring it up as another beautiful use case. This, where am I? This completes the webinar. Thank you again to Amandine, and we can open it up for questions now. So if you have any questions, please put them into chat. Oh, let's give it a few more seconds in case somebody does have questions, because I'm not seeing any questions yet. There's a question for Amandine. If there's something from Airtable that you miss
Oh, yeah.
when working in Grist.
Sure. What do I miss the most? Kanban, for instance, but Celine did create a custom widget for Kanban. So this could be fixed there. Wait, I'm checking my Airtable at the same time, but for sure, they're like not everything. Oh, the button, for sure. The button inside the table is something that Grist don't have. There is a widget for action button, but I found it like quite complicated to set. So it's not that easy. So yeah, the button should kind of trigger action inside a cell itself. You can find a way to kind of manage to do a link and something, but I did really like the button in Airtable. But out of that, somehow I've kind of managed to, yeah, maybe the group buy also, but it's not something I used that much. So in the end, it's kind of okay. Like I don't cry out of missing those features.
Sounds good. Somebody asked about importing a file. In Grist, there is in the Add New button, there is an option called Import from File. So that's if you want to import a CSV file or an Excel file. If you mean like importing an attachments, then you create an attachments column and just click an icon there or drop in an attachment, or even copy paste an attachment into a cell. Another question is when the webinar recording will be available. I expect by the end of the week it will be available. All right, the next question seems difficult. How would you recommend handling something like a systems access matrix? Say who gets what for which system when doing new employee account setups? So Grist has account like access control at 2 levels. At the basic level, it has similar access control to like Google Drive or Airtable. You can create a team. You can add people to the team. You can decide if they by default have owner, editor, viewer access, and then for any workspace and any document, you can overwrite it and decide who has viewer, editor, or owner access there. And then within the document, kind of what Amandine was showing with, if you want to share a document with a team or a different or even external people, where different people have access to different subsets of data, that is actually very flexible to how you set it up, because you can create rules using basically formulas. But that's too big a topic to answer in this webinar and this question. But in our support site, there is a big article on access rules. And we also have previous webinars that cover it in more depth. A question on Airtable formulas. Amandine showed, I think, the way the import tool currently brings them over. It just shows you a commented out text from Airtable, which on its own is not actually useful enough. There it is. There's an example. This is what the Airtable formula looks like internally, I guess, in Airtable, but you don't even see the column names. I think we'll be able to improve it at least to show the column names. As for automatically converting it to a Grist formula, I'm not going to promise this, but it is quite possible that we can do it in many cases, but I can't promise. A lot of these formulas, by the way, I had to, for some of the examples I was preparing, and I was trying to do a formula, like to generate, for example, an identifier using a number, but you want to pad it with some zeros. The formula in Grist is so much simpler than in Airtable that I don't even want to convert it. I would rather just write it myself or ask the AI assistants to write it for me. It's much more readable and clear. How to begin the process of Airtable import? And is it possible in self-hosted Grist? Good question. It is possible. I don't think self-hosted Grist has had a release yet that includes this feature, so you'll have to wait possibly until the end of the week or beginning of next week. But on getgrist.com, it became available just 2 days ago. So yes, it's available. It all started with the add new button that has a menu with a few import options, and import from Airtable is now an option there. Will Airtable import be available on Grist numeric goof friends? That's the instance of Grist used for French public servants. I expect that it will be, because it is part of Grist 4. And well, but I mean, it's kind of going to be their decision if they could turn it off. AI assistant can create formulas. Yes, I put together. I think that okay. There's some answers to questions people asked. Can you retrieve SL content by calling it with a URL through an API call? So the API provides access to records. So yes, you can retrieve any record for an API call, and you can retrieve attachment. I think there's an API call to get attachment metadata, and there's an API call to get attachment contents. I mean, basically everything should be available through API call, one way or another. And there is a question how to import a massive amount of data into Grist using the API to avoid unwanted errors. We never want any errors, but if you get errors, I mean, depends what the source of the errors. So this is not a question I think can answer without more details. Normally, if you have a script that's using the API to put data into Grist, one possibility of errors might be if you're exceeding rate limits. That depends kind of on what plan you're on, or using self-hosted or not. It makes sense to batch data. Like if you have 100,000 rows, you should not make one API call to add them all because it will exceed the size of a particular request. But you can add like 500 rows at a time with a little bit of time in between. And that's kind of a typical kind of issue you have to deal with whenever using the API of any tool. But beyond that, I don't know what to say. All right. I think we are close to an hour here, so I think we'll wrap it up. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And hope you like this new import tool. While waiting for others, I'm going to read one of the questions that was asked, which is that after bringing Airtable data into Grist, what is the best way to integrate with Google Docs for document PDF generation, including for line items? That's an excellent question. If the question is specifically about Google Docs, then it depends on your tool of choice. One that I know about is Docs Automator. It has a native Airtable integration, but not a native Grist one. But it does have an integration with N8N, Zapier, and Make. These are all integrator services, and all of these support both Docs Automator and Grist. So you'll need to use one of those, like N8N, and you should be able to set up the connection with Grist and even use the same Docs Automator templates you have. But there's also other ways to do document generation or PDF generation directly in Grist. So I wanted to use this as an opportunity to highlight a new custom widget in Grist. It's about to get mentioned in the newsletter later this week, but it's already in the gallery. It's called Vibe View, and it lets you vibe code views of your data very easily. So here's an example for generating an invoice. I'm going to share my screen to show this. Second. Okay. Just give me a second to orient myself among my windows. So this is actually a template that shows an invoice widget we have, but this invoice you're seeing here is not the invoice custom widget that's pre-built. It's custom built for this document itself. And it works like the other invoice template we have. You can select an invoice and it shows you some printable looking widget with line items. The way it works is if you go here to show the toolbar, there is an edit pane where you can edit the code. But the idea is you don't have to write this code. Instead, it gives you an info with a lot of useful text, which is really a useful prompt for AI. So you can copy this text, paste it into the chatbot of your choice, get back some code, paste the code here, and it just works and gives you something nice. And you can always kind of adjust it, and there's always a print button, so you can print it, or you can use the browser print to PDF feature to create a PDF. So that's another way to do PDF generation using only Grist. I think it's that was the question asked earlier, and now we're ready to start the webinar. So welcome everyone again. The last webinar we had was in January, and it was called Advanced Formulas with Ordered Lookups. There I covered how to do cumulative calculations, running totals, looking up the closest value, for example, for discount tiers or progressive tax rates and other such cases. You must be here because you're an Airtable user, or at least you have some data in Airtable. If you've always wished to be able to do such things, you'll be glad to know that in Grist, they're entirely possible and efficient. So I will post the link to the recording of last month's webinar if you're interested.